Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and this week's wisdom for the weekend is all about you having all the answers. Now, I'm in the midst of making two big decisions, and I have been so unable to officially make a decision. And I need to actually this week. I mean, it's somewhat critical that I make these decisions quickly. Now, I know what the answer is already. And I don't need to ask anyone or write out pros and cons because I already know. And I'll tell you how I know. So, when we all sort of are trying to make a decision or decide whether or not, we want to continue dating a certain person or stay in a certain job or, making a decision about maybe where you live or an apartment. And you can have a list of things like, look at all the positives, like if I lived in this apartment versus that one. But the other one, the one that has the shorter list of pros, is actually the one that completely lights you up when you walk inside that apartment or that job or hanging out with that person that you've been dating. And they may look good on paper, right? Have you dated people like that? Where they're really good on paper and you're like, oh my God, this person's like amazing. But on paper, not in real life. And in real life, not so much. I've definitely had that. So here we are trying to mentally make a decision from our mind based on pros and cons. Okay, well, whichever one has a longer list of pros, I'll just go with that one, right? I mean, it makes sense. I think we've all made decisions based that way. But I'm talking about knowing the real answer from deep inside of us, because we all know the answers. And the way we know these answers is by how we feel when we are in the apartment with that person or at the job. I always gauge how I feel about something when I first walk into a place, or like I'll just know when the right apartment comes around or the right house. I'll know. Like you viscerally in your body know. And there's no denying that. For some people, it's very obvious, like, oh God, this totally resonates with me. That's a full-on yes in my book, right? And when you get that, it's like an instant yes. Oh my God, yes. And then there are ones that are like, oh, okay, well, it's okay. The space is okay. It's not, it'll do. It's not great. Good location, but not enough sun. Doesn't feel cozy enough. But look at the neighborhood. Or, you have a couple of positives, but your body, not feeling it, Now you can certainly deny it all and just look at what's on paper and have the list of all the positives and go for it. And decide on the thing on paper that looks good. Yeah, you can make that decision. But ultimately, will it make you so happy? Or is it going to be like, yeah, I live in this new place. It's a good neighborhood. That's about it. Or do you want to be in a place where you're like, Oh my God, I found this apartment. It's amazing. I get the views. I have the beautiful light. Yeah, it's not like in, the best or the most coveted neighborhood. It's kind of a little bit like in the woods a little bit, or it's out a little bit, from town, like 15 minutes. It's not really downtown. It's a little outside of it, but it's lovely. And it's like a sanctuary. You like feel so good to be in that space. And you feel it, your body feels it, like that that's the space. Or even with the guy, well, on paper, yeah, highly educated, really good job. We travel a lot together. He has a boat. I don't know. And yet you feel like, around him. Maybe, not so physically attracted, sexual attraction, could be better, not so good. What do you weigh heavily on more? What's more important to you? Nothing sparks when you see him. Like you're on a date and you're just like, whatever, another night. Whatever. It's a date, duty dating. That's what they call it. That sucks. Like to me, I couldn't even deal. I don't care about the boat, the money. Yeah, those things are really, really nice. And I certainly wouldn't say no to being on a boat on the weekend. Of course not. But if the guy doesn't do it for me, even if there's no sexual or physical attraction, but he's good on paper, or I don't feel particularly sparked when I'm around him in a good way, I just can't. I can't do it. I will not do it. So if there is a decision that you are trying to make, like I am, I know the answer. It's a matter of giving the answers to the right people and moving on already. And if there is something that you are in the midst of making a decision, the home, the guy, the job, whatever, how do you feel? I mean, you've been on the interview, let's say. How do you feel when you're in that space? Like, oh my God, I love it here. I love the people. Look at it. Look, I get this office, or this is amazing. I totally would love it here. Or are you like, oh God, this place, just the energy sucks. Don't take the job. I don't know. It would be torturous for me to be in a space that I couldn't thrive in or love, absolutely love. So what decision this weekend, sister, are you contemplating? How does it feel in your body? Does it light you up? Or are you just like, You know the difference between those two. For me, if it's not a full-on hell yes, then it's a no. It is a no. And sometimes that's hard to swallow, right? It's like, oh my God, but no, how can I say no to the boat and the guy who earns has a great job and earns all this money, and he's willing to fly me here and there and everywhere. But I'm not into it. I'm not into him. I'm just not into him. He's so boring, or whatever it is. I don't know. It's up to you to make the decision, but feel it in your body. Excited? Not so much. They're distinct feelings. And the more you tap in to those feelings, the easier it becomes. The more you rely on it, because that never lies. It never lies. Trust me on that one. All right, sisters, Have the most beautiful weekend. And I will speak to you next week. Much love. Bye for now.